Hey dear, Zimzy here, and I know I have been away from YouTube for ages, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been in a huge funk, but I've missed you all so much, and I've missed talking about books and movies and mangas, so I'm here now to catch up with you and rave and rant about books I've read over the past few months, and I also want to just rave and geek out about one movie, so settle in. So first, let's get my disappointments out of the way, starting with A Dark and Drowning Tide by Allison Saft. And this was one of my most highly anticipated reads of the year. It's about Lorelei, who is a folklorist, and she's sent out on an expedition team to try and track down the fabled source of all magic. However, when her mentor mysteriously dies aboard the ship, she has to team up with her rival to try and find the murderer. And her rival, Sylvia, doesn't turn out really to be a rival figure. It's mostly that Sylvia is this quirky, weird girl who likes to talk to mythological creatures. And Lorelei is just needlessly rude to her, and it feels so petty. There's no compelling, legitimate reason for her hate towards people. Like, Lorelei, I don't know what's going on with her attitude. She has all these internal monologues about how she's a viper and how ambitious she is, but that's not actually backed up in her actions in the text. She just talks a lot. She's all bark and no bite. So this was a huge disappointment to me. I think I was expecting kind of like the knife to the throat rival dynamics that I got in Vicious. If I could get the sapphic equivalent of that, I would love that book so much, and I wanted that for this book, but I didn't get it. And it was pitched as dark academia, and the cover, the US cover, is all dark and brooding, but I didn't get that feeling from this text, so it just feels like huge mismarketing and really shallow characters. Okay, moving on to disappointment number 2, and that is Lucy Undying by Kiersten White. And the cover is freaking gorgeous. I feel like I was catfished by it. So you see like these wolves transforming into Lucy's hair, and it feels like such a nod to the Dracula movie. And I was all for a Dracula retelling. In this one, Lucy survives, and she spends like a century trying to track down Dracula. However, it felt like almost 2 different books combined into one for me. So you have Lucy's diary chapters and recordings, and then you also have, on the other hand, a girl named Iris in the modern era who's trying to escape her mother's cronies, who are part of like a MLM scheme. And she finds Lucy's diary, but in the modern era, the dialogue feels very cheesy and not a good cheese way. Like, during the romantic scenes, Iris calls her love interest butter chicken. And it's almost impressive how unsexy Kiersten White made a vampire novel. Like, I don't know how you could make romance scenes so bad. It was laughable, not in a good way, not in a clever way. I was like, who wrote this dialogue? And on the other hand, you have Lucy's chapters, which are like literary and poetic and beautiful, and I don't know what happened. It just feels like a haphazard mishmash of ideas that didn't quite come together for me. And I have huge beef about what happened to Mina in this novel. I feel like she was done so dirty. I love Mina, and I feel like the author tried to villainize Mina and put her down to make Lucy look better, which I feel like you could have fleshed out both characters and had Lucy live without screwing over Mina. Just saying. But yeah, those are my gripes with that story. Okay, I promise that I don't completely hate reading because I found my favorite book of the year, and that is Asunder by Kerstin Hall. And it rocked my socks, it tickled my fancy, and it's a dark fantasy that's necromancy adjacent, and it follows Karis, who is a death speaker who's sent to investigate the deaths of smugglers in a tower. However, when she gets there, she realizes that there's a gravely injured survivor still there, and that the entity that had killed all these smugglers is still in that tower. So she panics, she's desperate, so she does this very controversial magic technique where she sticks the dying man into this like time pocket dimension and binds him to her shadow so they can just quickly get out of there. However, her magic has dangerous and unintended consequences where that man can possess her and take over her body, or if the two of them struggle too much, her body can just simultaneously split apart, which doesn't sound so fun. So she's searching to find a way how to undo her magic, and all in the meanwhile, there's monsters trying to track her down. And this book was so good. The monsters in this one are actually grotesque and terrifying, and it leans heavily into horror territory. And the characters in this book are messed up and believable, and I care about the relationships. Like, the character writing was fantastic in this one. So by the time we get to the end, it felt so bittersweet and cathartic, and we're kind of left with an ambiguous ending. I believe this is supposed to be a standalone, but it's open-ended enough that I feel like the author could potentially revisit the characters and this world, which I genuinely hope she does, because this world is super interesting. Like, this world is super colorful and creative. Like, there's organic cave trains that you can ride, and you can ride multi-dimensional space spiders, and there's like enchanted alarm rabbits. I just loved it. It felt so immersive, and I cannot recommend this book enough. Okay, next we have another book that rocked my world, and that is Alien Clay by Adrian Tchaikovsky. And this one was essentially Prometheus meets Annihilation, which is a pretty good combo to me. And this one follows Anton, who is a xenobiologist who's sent along with other political dissenters to this planet to study it, called Kiln. And here on this planet, there's this sentient ancient civilization whose builders all mysteriously disappeared, and his job is to discover who they were and why they all vanished on this planet. And all in the meanwhile, he has to try and keep his own sanity and selfhood, because the aliens on this planet are colonial organisms, kind of like manowars or coral reefs, where they are smaller organisms that combine to create a larger colonial organism, and they can absorb humans too. So Anton has to try to avoid contamination. And I have to admit, this book is a bit of a slow burn. So first we get like all the social politics of his home planet and all the dynamics of the expedition team and the camp on the planet of Kiln. But the payoff is huge. Like, when we get to the revelation, it is mind-blowing, and there's this huge, like, everything clicks into place moment, and it felt so satisfying to me. And the body horror and cosmic horror, were fantastic. So I was a happy camper with this book. And last but not least, I just want to quickly rave about the movie The Substance. It is like this bizarre Cronenberg-esque body horror movie about the impossible beauty standards of the entertainment industry and the fears of aging. And it just goes balls to the wall bananas. It does not hold back. It is basically the movie that I wish Neon Demon could have been, because I feel like Neon Demon is all visuals and no substance, and it holds back. I feel like it holds back. So this one is whimsy approved. It's my movie of the year. If you haven't watched it, do. And lastly, I just want to briefly talk about some of the stuff I've been doing in the background. So I have been focusing on my own fiction writing, and recently I have been published in a print anthology called Triangulation, Hospitium, and my story is called What the Waves Took, and it deals with a newly engaged couple who go to meet the husband's estranged parents who live in his childhood home, which is this kind of quaint coastal fishing small town, and they have some strange customs and secrets there. And if you get a chance to read it, I hope you enjoy it, because I enjoyed writing it. Alright, that's a wrap for now. Let me know what you've been up to and what books or manga or movies you've watched or read recently that you've been disappointed in, or maybe it blew your mind. Let me know about it down below in the comments. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later. See ya!